Fabien, thanks for being here. With the focus of the conference being on Symfony 2 and the futures of Symfony, maybe first the question, why is there a new major version right now when Symfony has gained a wider acceptance and people got used to the 1.4 API? So what is the big revolution in Symfony 2?
We have many revolutions really, but to answer your question, I started to work on Symfony 1 5 years ago, and Symfony 1 was my first PHP project. So I knew nothing about PHP before Symfony 1, so obviously I made some mistakes. So we learned a lot. I learned a lot during these 5 years, and as Symfony 1 started its life as glue between different open source projects, it was more and more difficult to be able to evolve the low-level architecture of Symfony to do what I want to do. So Symfony 2 is really a new start for Symfony based on all the feedback we had with Symfony 1, and also because we are trying to leverage all the new things on PHP 5.3.
Great. Which exactly leads to the next question, which is, it was decided a couple of months ago that Symfony 2 would be exclusively PHP 5.3, which lots of people did not seem to understand.
Yeah.
So could you elaborate a bit, what are the advantages of PHP 5.3?
Yeah. I was not convinced that it was a good idea to use PHP 5.3. I decided to switch to PHP 5.3 at the Zen conference last year because there was this shootout session. One question was which version of PHP will you use for your next major version of the framework, and everybody answered PHP 5.3, and I was the only one to say PHP 5.2 for good reasons. And then we talked about that problem a lot, and I decided to switch to PHP 5.3 because I wanted to promote the new version of PHP 5.3, and also because I knew at the time that it would take more than 1 year to have a stable version. I think it makes sense to use PHP 5.3 nowadays. It was naturally the same 1 year ago, but now I think it's time to switch to PHP 5.3. And also because we break backward compatibility.
Okay.
And as PHP 5.3 breaks backward compatibility because of namespaces, I think it was the right time to do the switch, to break everything instead of breaking backward compatibility in Symfony 2.1 in about a year because we need to switch to the new version of PHP.
With Symfony 2.0 taking shape, and I mean the alpha version is on the horizon, I think. So what are the things the parts of Symfony 2.0 you are most proud of?
I think I'm very proud of the low-level architecture, really. What we call the bundle system, which is really a plugin system. Everything is a bundle, a plugin in Symfony 2. I'm very proud of that because I think it gives a lot of flexibility, a lot of possibilities, really. And also very proud of the fact that we try to not reinvent the wheel. So we try to learn things from other frameworks in PHP or other languages or whatever. So I'm really proud of that.
Okay. Symfony has always, Symfony 1.x has always promoted PHP as the templating language of choice, which now is changing to recommending Twig, or Twig is moving towards the center of the framework. Why that change of mind?
Yeah, that's a big change. I'm not really sure we will have Twig by default. I mean, right now you can use PHP or Twig. This is really your choice, and both are equally supported in Symfony 2. So the only problem is which one we would choose for the documentation, the official documentation, the printed one. That's not a problem online because we can have, HTML and JavaScript to hide or show things. But in printed book, you need to make a choice. The thing is, in Symfony 2, all the helpers are object-oriented, which means that you can, that's great because you can change them, you can override them, you can extend them, you can do pretty much whatever you want. But the downside is that it's very verbose. So if you have a look at the helpers in Symfony 2, you will notice that it's really long. You need to open the PHP thing and then echo and then get the helper and then call a method, etc., etc. So that's a lot of noise, really. So that's the first reason. Twig is much cleaner in that way. So, and also because I think using Twig or whatever templating system you want forces you to only do templating logic in your templates, and that's really the goal of an MVC framework. If you use PHP, you can do pretty much whatever you want, which is not what you want if you use an MVC framework. And I do a lot of audits for Symfony project, and most of the time I see crazy things in PHP templates, really. So I think for web developers, it really forces you to think about what you need to put in your template, what you need to put in your controllers, what you need to put in your models. And last but not least, I think it's much easier to learn Twig for a web designer than it is, if they want to learn PHP, they will want to do more than just templating logic. If they learn Twig, it's easier, and they know that they won't be able to screw up the templates. So that's a lot of reasons, really.
Yep. Yes. Looking at the standalone Symfony components that actually came before the first pre-alpha of Symfony 2, what's the plan for those? We've seen there's still one snoozing box on the website, and we've been guessing what's the next component that's going to go live, and if there will there be more than 6, or does it take a backseat because of Symfony 2 development?
No, we have big plans for Symfony components, and the thing is, the website is not really up to date because we switched to PHP 5.3. So the first step is really to develop all those components, and then we will update the website. So, but those components already exist. If you download the sandbox of Symfony 2, or if you go to the Git repository, you clone the Git repository, and there is a component directory, and you can see that we have, I think, 16 or 17 different components. So we have already a lot of them, really. The only thing is we don't have the time to update the website. So that would be done for sure.
Okay. And well, last but not least, when is it going to be done? Symfony 2, that is.
Symfony 2?
Yeah.
The current guesstimate is March 2011. And I'm quite confident that we will be able to make it because we have still 2 big missing components in Symfony 2. First one is security, and I will talk about that this afternoon, and it will probably land into the master repository next week. So I'm pretty confident that the low-level architecture of the security component is solid enough. And the last one is the enemy generator, and Jonathan Wage is starting working on it. So I'm pretty sure that the stable release will be in March 2011 for the Symfony Live conference in Paris.
That's great news. We're looking forward to it, and thank you very much.
Thank you.